readers, welcome back to my channel, Lila Wanders and Reads. My camera may have died, so I am filming this on my phone, so I'm gonna make it shorter than normal. Anywho, welcome to my weekend books. Last week I did not post weekend books deliberately. Long story short, I was exhausted from the work week. I even skipped book club, and that is unlike me. So I'm gonna go through real quick the books that I've read over the past 2 weeks. If you know me, if you follow along, you know that I love learning about World War II history, and that is an area of personal study that I may go back to school to study some more. Anywho, somehow, I know how, and I'll tell you why. I realized that Kurt Vonnegut was a participant in the Battle of the Bulge, and that he wrote a book about his experiences loosely, very loosely. So I started out week before last with Slaughterhouse-Five, and I loved this book. I read about halfway through. First of all, I prepped myself for reading it. I did a lot of online, not study, but research, and kind of got the gist of the plot. And I read about halfway through it. Then I watched the movie, which was from 1972, I think. Whew, it was out there. And I just loved this book. It is kind of weird, but I think my experience was enhanced by understanding the Battle of the Bulge and a little bit, and getting where he was going with some of his wackiness. Because in this book, I'm not going to read all the things that the books are about. It's an anti-war book, and he talks about the firebombing of Dresden, but also there are aliens and more. Fantastic. I recommend checking out what it's about so you kind of understand going in, reading this, and also watching the movie. It is out there. Loved it. Then I went for something a little lighter, and that was Josie Silver's One Night on the Island. And so last week, really, I only week before last, started and finished 2 books because of the work situation, which is positive. It was just exhausting. It was a lot for me, and I didn't read every night like I usually do. One Night on the Island, shared bedroom or shared house in this case, story. A love story, light, and I think what I liked best is that the real love story and the real kind of climax of the book is that the main character, Cleo, really finds herself again, and she had been lost to herself for a little while. On the purse book side, I have been reading this forever. I finally finished Berlin Diary by William Shirer. This is one of my World War II books. It is fascinating. I loved this. This is William Shirer's diary that he smuggled out of Germany in 1940, 1941, starts in 1934, and it's his observations and talking about his job as a correspondent for CBS, I believe, as Hitler was taking power. And it ends in December 1940, when things are starting to get bad and he's got to get out. Turns out the Gestapo had a case on him. It was interesting to me watching everything transpire. Some things I had a kind of a view where I could, looking back on history is easier than being part of it. So you can see, oh shit, this is about to happen. So love this book. Highly recommend for anyone who studies World War II. Now, speaking of Kurt Vonnegut, this is why I got turned on to Slaughterhouse-Five. On the audiobook side, I was listening to Antony Beevor's Ardennes 1944, The Battle of the Bulge. And Kurt Vonnegut and Hemingway and someone else kept getting brought up. And so I made me Google Kurt Vonnegut, and then I picked up a copy of Slaughterhouse-Five, and I was like, I read it, and they both, just all of this, reading these two at the same time, also, this is going kind of through Ardennes into France, and then that's Germany, and then this is the Allies coming through Ardennes to fight Germany. It's kind of surreal, but also excellent reference. I didn't retain as much from this because I listened to it and I don't retain that well, but I enjoyed it, and it led me to Vonnegut. Next up, we start in this week. And after the week that I had, I was so mentally exhausted that I just could not. I needed some comfort reads, and so I chose Nora Roberts. Primarily 1990s, mid 1990s Nora Roberts. And one thing I appreciated about both of the books that I finished was that I appreciate how much her writing has evolved. So the Nora Roberts of the 1990s is not the same Nora Roberts of the 2000s, which is the early 2000s, my favorite era of hers. And, so started with Montana Sky, about three half-sisters, whose father screws them over in his will. And there's a serial killer, there's a lot going on. I'd call it romantic suspense. And it was okay. It did what I needed it to do. Then I went to True Betrayals, also mid-90s. This is about a woman who finds out that her mother, who she thought was dead, had actually been imprisoned. So naturally they get back together. There's a serial killer in here too. Very dramatic. The True Betrayals, oh yeah, there's a betrayal in there, and it's high drama. And then I read one that was published, I DNF'd one that was published in 1988, and that was Brazen Virtue. What I love about Nora Roberts is she's really great at character building. In this one, in the 1980s, it didn't work for me. I did not find the character building as good as some of her later works. So I ended up, because I was still kind of had an exhaustion hangover from the prior week, I was like, I can't. So I went then with something very light, that is Make My Wish Come True, a best friends to no longer friends to lovers story, fake dating, Hollywood meets local girl, very cute, exactly what I needed. And then I thought I would go on to another light one, but everyone says they're a mood reader. I don't like to say that, but I guess I am, because I picked up another one, I don't even know where it is, and I put it down because I wasn't feeling it. Turns out, this is not a book I finished. This is one I started and won't be on my September end of month wrap up if my camera starts to work again. I went yesterday to Barnes & Noble picking up some books about World War II, and then I found Ken Follett's Fall of Giants. This is a tome. I just started it yesterday. Yesterday being Saturday. This will air on Monday. I am this far along in it. I will not finish it before the end of this week. I will not finish it before the end of the month, most likely. It is almost 1,000 pages, and they are long pages. I mean, tall pages, but very good. This is kind of a generational saga. There are 3 books to this trilogy, and it just feels right. I've settled into it. I'm getting to know the characters. I like the characters, and it is just what I wanted. I didn't want anything light. It's just what I wanted. Anywho, that is it for me. Again, shorter than usual because I'm having to film this on my phone. I don't know what the hell's going on with my camera. It just wouldn't turn on. I don't know if my computer's not charging it or if something else is going on. If something else is going on, I guess I'll have to get a new camera. Oh no. Anywho, as always, if you've made it with me this far, thank you for sticking with me on my journey, and happy reading.